come in, God. I know you're there, hearing our prayers wherever you are. We need you now to send your love down. Take away the pain in your holy name. We ask this now. We need your light, we need your love to heal the world you made. And save us now in our darkest hour with your amazing grace. Earth to God. We're holding on, but not for long. Can you pull us all close to the Holy Ghost and keep us strong? We need your light, we need your love to heal the world you made. And save us now in our darkest hour with your amazing grace. Earth to God.
All right, welcome, divine ones. Welcome to the Redneck Renegade Radio, the Truth Truther Show. We got another action-packed show tonight with our brother Cohen, who's joining me as a co-host tonight. But we also have the amazing team from Americans in Action with Christo, Ananda, and Jason. We'll be here in just a few moments. So anyways, guys, we got some amazing things that are happening right now. And that song I felt was so appropriate for, the feel of what's happening in our nation and in our world right now. Earth to God. How appropriate is that? God, the Most High Creator Source, is watching over us. He's watching over our nation. He's watching over our world. Okay? And he has not left us alone. I know at times it may seem like things are very dark, and that's because things have to play out a certain way. But I can guarantee you, and I can promise you as an ELIAS, the Most High Creator is with us in every way, in everything that is going on in our lives, okay? So tonight's going to be a special night in the sense that I felt strongly that we needed to get our team and our family here, our divine family from American in Action, to come on tonight, because over the last 2 or 3 days, there's been a lot of movement taking place in the Truther movement as it relates to certain individuals going on other shows and programs trying to discredit the this movement, the sovereignty movement of state national, American state national movement that is happening right now. And so I had a conference with Americans in Action later this afternoon, and we thought it would be best if we just hit this head on and talk about some of the key points that have been put out there on like Charlie Ward's program, the Truth Tour, and things of that nature as well, because it's making its rounds and it's starting to put doubts in the hearts and minds of the faithful, of our patriots. All right. So this is what we wanted to do tonight. Tonight will be a little bit more candid and really honing in and driving home the fact that, yes, we are all born American national. We're Americans at first, right? We are sovereign beings because God created us as such. So we are eternal sovereign beings. That can never be stripped from us. However, there are certain things that we can do moving forward in our lives that can make our lives, make our families' lives a little bit better, how shall I say, more divine in claiming and proclaiming the I am presence within us of our sovereignty as well. Because after all, with where we're going, we're literally ushering in heaven on earth right now. This is what is happening. And so, they say in this movie that they keep telling us that we're in, that the end is not for everyone. And that's true. The end is not for everyone. However, God is for everyone, right? So if we live our lives with godly principles and allow those godly principles as our moral compass, we can never go wrong. Okay, so let's bring in our amazing team here. Before I do that, I want to give a shout out real quick. All right, so I want to give a shout out to our amazing moderators. We have Cookie, we have Kathy, who's been with me for, over a year and a half now. So thank you, Cookie and Kathy. I love you very much. I'm grateful for you. Also, CB's daughter, as well as Healing by Intuition. You ladies are amazing as well. I'm so grateful for you. I appreciate all the effort that you ladies put in helping the Redneck Renegade platforms be able to run and function out there. So I'm grateful for you. So thank you so very much. I appreciate you all. I want to give a shout out to all of you that are tuning in right now. I'm grateful for you as well. A lot of you have been with me for the last year and a half, and you guys have seen things come and go as it relates to this platform. But I'm grateful and I'm thankful for your spirit and the light that you portray for us and help me to keep having that desire and light, shall we say, to keep doing this as well. So thank you all. So let's bring in, without any further ado, we have our brother Cohen right there. Cohen, how are you doing, brother?
I'm doing awesome. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Love the cowboy hat. Love it.
Yeah, this is a real Southern cowboy hat. Southern America.
All right. Let's bring in. What's that? Go ahead.
I said I got this one in Ecuador. I was in Cuenca, a small little
nice.
town in Ecuador. So this is a Southern American Spirit of America hat. He was asking $15 for it. Can you believe that?
Wow, that's pretty good. All right, so let's bring in Christo. Good evening.
Hi, ML. Hi, Cohen. How are you today?
How you doing? Good to see you.
Fabulous.
Or I hear you. I don't see you.
Oh, well, I'm here. Oh, you know what? You cleared something up for me, ML.
All right.
I would go to various websites and they would say add cookies, and now I know who she is. So persistent. So I'll add her all the time.
Yeah, we got cookies here. That's right. All right. Now we also have Jason and Ananda. Blessings, blessings, blessings. So we have our family reunion here again. Namaste. Yes. Love it. Love the hat, brother. Jason. Love the hat.
I got some good feedback from it last time, so I figured, hey, if it's working.
There you go.
Where did you get that hat, Jason?
So tonight,
Oh, yeah.
where'd you
Actually,
get that hat?
Christo gifted me this hat some time ago, and he said you'll need it sometime. And I never really wore it until last week or last time we were on. So he was tapped in.
Well, it looks like it's actually pretty well broke in. That's a good thing about a cowboy hat. Okay. I know there might be a little delay here, lag. I was having some technical issues, and I have to tell you guys, last time, I don't know, there was something going on with my internet. I spaced it throughout last Thursday. I had to use my hotspot or my connection because my regular Wi-Fi connection wasn't doing very well. And when I was doing the show, all of a sudden my Wi-Fi was trying to engage. So it was kicking off my hotspot. And so they were battling with each other, which one was going to take over a connection of my laptop. And that's what cut me off. Wow. And I couldn't establish reconnection. And I didn't figure the problem out that my hotspot was still on and the Wi-Fi was competing with my connectivity. It didn't dawn on me until about an hour after I couldn't figure out what was going on. So I had to explain what happened. Most of these viewers, they're used to my redneck internet service out here, if you will, in the rural parts of the state of misery here, it seems like. So.
Who's that woman over there?
So everybody's great. Yes.
Hi.
Go ahead, Christo.
Oh, I was just saying, who's that woman over there?
Is that, were you referring to me?
Yes, darling.
Oh, okay. I'm like looking in the background, like, I was gonna say, there's somebody there. Hilarious. I feel like we're in that program. One of these kids is doing his own thing because I didn't wear a hat.
Oh, that's all right. We'll all get synced up here.
So ML, what happened? What did that woman say on Charlie Ward?
Well, let's just dive in, shall we?
Hey, sorry about that.
I love it. Just rip that Band-Aid off. Okay. Well,
you know me, I sugarcoat everything.
So here we go. You're right. Well, okay. So let's set this backstory here. So for the last 48 hours, there's a lady by the name of Lena, and Lena has been in the constitutional sovereignty movement for what it appears for some time. And she appears to be a very intelligent woman. She was an electrical engineer, a mechanical engineer. She's got a couple doctorates. So she's a very educated woman. And she also is very knowledgeable as it pertains to our Constitution and our laws and our true history as it relates to these events and our sovereignty as well. So in the last 48 hours, it was brought to my attention that she was a guest on Charlie Ward's show. And I believe she's been a guest, excuse me, a few times on Charlie Ward's program. And then she also was a guest speaker yesterday on a leg of the Truth Tour Part 2. So in the last 48 hours, she is trying to establish the fact that those of us that are trying to help educate and teach people about the state national and as it relates to assisting people to become state nationals or help them become sovereigns through becoming state nationals and so forth, she is telling people that what we're teaching people is incorrect, and that basically certain other individuals, she didn't name you guys, she named some other individuals, and I don't want to name their names, but we all know who the other groups are that are out there. she specifically talked about how these people who have fallen prey and victim to the state national movement through these other groups that are out there. And her premise is this. Her premise is this, that if you become a state national, then you no longer are part of a country. And she said the problem with this is if you, when America becomes a republic and it's restored as a republic again, and you're a state national, well, you're going to have no claim to this country, America. You will be basically an illegal alien in a new country, is basically what she said. You know, and so she's going down this path. And I'm like, well, now that's really interesting that she'd say that, because if my memory serves me correctly, this lady, she was associated with the David Straight group a few months back, because I remember watching her on a couple programs where she talked about being with David Straight. And then at some point in time, you know, she's no longer associated with that group. So I think tonight it would be great if we could address and talk about some of these bullet points that she's been throwing out there in her presentations, because a lot of people are getting confused. They're getting very confused by this information that's out there. And what we want to do is help lessen the confusion, because light and truth always stands on its own merits. Mm-hmm. And, you know, we had a great conversation with our team today with you guys, and we talked about how is the best way to approach and address this. So as I said, I'm going to reach out to her and ask her and invite her if she'd like to participate in a you know, a round robin group, if you will, here online, so everybody can see. So there's none of this he said, she said stuff, but that we can listen to her points and respond to those points, and then vice versa. I think that's the best way, so that people can see exactly the principles that you guys are teaching are based off of, she likes to use the Bible, right, as her principle, that everything is predicated as it relates to our sovereignty and so forth, is predicated off the 1611 Bible, the King James, which is a little, I don't know about that. We'll talk about that too. But that's in essence what we're dealing with in the last 48 hours, is we're trying to help these divine souls be able to decide and provide them real truth, so they know that when they're being presented, but maybe not all the information, or maybe misinterpreted information, we want to correct that, so that these people actually have confidence going forward, so they know what they're doing is by God.
So the first thing I would like to say, ML, thank you for that intro, is that we are not in conflict with any movement or anyone. We allow people to make their choices, and we actually support that. To correct your status is a choice, because it's something, a calling of the soul. If people are constantly looking outside of themselves for the answers, and they follow some movement, but they don't really have it lived here in the soul, in the heart, then that's a cult. And that is something that I don't really recommend. I really recommend that you do enough of your own research. You vet the information with your own research, and in that you make a choice on how you would like to stand. This isn't about conflict. I am very, very cautious, and really look at when someone talks, especially to a group of people or on a widely expanded platform like Charlie Ward. And she actually, or a people that talks, actually causes conflict and division within all of the awake people, all of the people that have realized the fraud, have realized that we were taken over from a foreign state, by a foreign state, and that the administration right now is actually in rogue behavior and destroying America. If anyone can't see that, then their head is in the sand, and I'll pray for you. That your eyes wake and your heart is alive and you resonate to the truth of what is. If I was the only one in this country that corrected my status, I would be okay, because it came from my heart. It came from my soul. And like I said, it took me 6 months, 9 months until I just chose to do it. And I want to tell you that, it was a major step. And I actually expressed that in my affidavit. So what happens is that when she says something on the lines of, anybody that comes and tries to separate a group, what is that? Divide and conquer. Where is she living? If I had something with somebody bringing something out like tonight, I'm going to come to them and say, hey, maybe we have a misunderstanding, or let's exchange notes, because we're both on the side of, we know there's fraud involved. And so what would be the best way of going about this to establish once again, which never went away, it just was hidden, our republic, our original republic, always has been here. It's just been quiet because people have been asleep. And so with that, we are now waking up and we're doing what we know to do. That means each and every people is doing what they feel they should do. And, if somebody doesn't want to do that, that's totally okay. And by the way, there are several ways of doing that. There are several ways of redefining your status. It's all about standing. It's no more being acquiescing and doing nothing with what is at hand here. This is how we're in this mess, because we have done nothing for the last 150 years. Now we're doing something, and it feels wonderful. And I can feel God smiling because we're taking responsibility. We're using his book. We're using things from Genesis, information, and we're just making choices. Every day I pray to my Father and say, please guide me. What do you want me to do today? And I listen and I act after I listen. And so with that, oh my God, my life has changed so dramatically, and it's so amazing. And I can feel the joy and the love, just like Cohen. Cohen, like a month ago or 2 months ago, he felt very depressed and he was under pressure. Now, every day he's a smiling guy and he loves his life. I mean, that's what we get from him. That's amazing. And how did that happen? Maybe he came upon some wisdom that he's applying in his life, and his life is becoming better for it. How wonderful is that? Would that be kind of close, Cohen?
Oh, absolutely. That's right on point. And to even go further on that, one of the things that I discovered in just learning all of this and realizing everything is trust. And when we are in agreements, even if those are not necessarily intentionally made, but we've agreed by consenting and by not correcting an error, we've just assented into that. When we're in those agreements, those are the things that hold us bondage. And we don't even know why we're feeling the way we're feeling, and that we're frustrated in our activities, and we have the loss of freedom, the loss of relationship, because we're in an agreement with something that is not of God. It's very clear. We can serve one master. We can't have a house divided. A house divided will not stand. And so when we're double-minded, and in one sense we testify that we're dead, and then on the other side of our life, we testify that we're living, and we never marry those two belief systems and become one in our being, then we're double-minded, and it's where we lose all of our energy and all of our gusto and our life force and our desire and our passion. It just depletes because we're a split, divided, sinking ship.
And that's right. It's so well said, Cohen. And we lose the potency of anything that we shall do to stand because of that. I will say that in standing, all we're doing is we're living in the private, we're living in the republic, we are living in God's law. Is that bad? Is that incorrect? Oh my goodness. And so now, if any one of us that are after the freedom of after dispelling the darkness and all their black magic, any one of us, if we stay in their commerce, in their Roman law, in their admiralty law, in their corporation, then you will lose anything that you do in court. And that there's proof of the pudding. Look at Sydney. Look at the Lynn Wood. Look at we know some doctors and senators that are petitioning, and they send a petition in. It goes nowhere because they haven't cognited yet on what the kingdom of heaven is, on what the land jurisdiction is, on what it means to live God's law. So we announce with that affidavit known as a repudiation that, hey, I didn't know this before, but you are pulling the wool over my eyes and have been, and my parents and my grandparents, and you are causing all kinds of harm, and I am done with it. I love our country. I love our Constitution. I love our freedom that we have had in the first 95 years. But I will not put up with the criminals that infiltrated our beautiful country. And so this is one way in peace, in honor, to stand. So I'm not for violence in any way, shape, or form. It gets nobody anything except for maybe death. I'm for peace. I'm for joy. I'm for love. And that's how we approach this thing. So if you stay in that commerce, you stay in, and you even use the bar attorneys and bar courts or whatever you do, you're going to have the same result that Cindy Palace had over the last 2 years. Negated? Was she telling the truth? Yes. Did she have evidence? Yes. And they still threw it out. Now, with us applying trust law and us applying everything that we have learned from the Bible, we have helped people to exit the corruption, and even in court, whether they were a state national or not, to win. And I hate to say win because it's not a win thing, because we don't go into a game of win and lose. We just stand. And in standing, we just become victorious in our standing, and the corrupted fraud goes away. If that's wrong, so sorry. Oh my goodness, that's amazing. Now listen, I just wanted to say those few things because I just don't trust anyone that causes division. I would be wholly willing still to meet with her and to exchange notes. And that's how we should do it. You know, she mentioned to go to her website. And of course, there's like her Visa and MasterCard there. I heard, I didn't see it. A part of my team did. And so, you know, you got to really pay attention. One last thing. And then I want to turn it over to Ananda because she has done so much homework on this. And she has some really precise points that she's going to bring out. And I will say this, that when someone, again, is not telling the whole truth, and I'm not saying that Lena wasn't, or whatever her name is, not telling the whole truth. I'm just saying anyone. You can feel it. Go into your knowing. Allow your heart, your knowing, to be your guidance, because God lives with you. God is you, within you. We're in the image and likeness of our Creator. And so with that, one last thing. everybody's heard of Clay Clark. And I think I might have mentioned this before, but I know that she was invited to go there. By the way, Clay Clark makes millions of dollars. And when he does these American tours, I'm talking about like 70 million. He pays somebody like General Flynn upwards of $80,000 or $90,000 to appear. Now, here's the deal. It's popular with people that want a hit of the energy of freedom, but then they go home and do nothing. We're not about that. After all, our name is Americans in Action, and we have proven the point that we are in action, and anyone associated with us gets into action. It's contagious. But I've always noticed that in every of his that I've seen, and I didn't go to any one of them or anything. I just saw them on video. He still maintains 3 or 4 flags that have the gold fringe about it that represents Admiralty law. I brought it to his attention many times in emails. I tried leaving a message, no response. Please take that off, Clay, if you see this. Take off the war flag that has been captured. That's the gold fringe that you are showing millions of people in America. And if it's on your stage, that means that you are condoning it. Mm-hmm. If it's in the courtroom, you know what we do? We say, what's that flag? We need to have this to be a constitutional Article 3. Please put the appropriate flag there. And so now she's been invited there. It's very interesting, So pay attention, and really, where the wisdom is of anything is what you're feeling that comes to you in between the words. The space in between the words is where the real magic is. Mm-hmm. With that, Ananda, why don't you share what you have discovered? Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. That was amazing. Yeah, and I agree. And some things that stood out to me, like, there were some pretty bold statements that she made. One of them was, when you become a state national, you give up your country. That is simply not true. So before the states united, each state was a nation state, and it was independent. It was a sovereign state. And so the folks who lived there and had their abodes there, they were in agreement that they lived in their little nation state. And then let's see, there's in 1871, the U.S. became a corporation. Okay. And then from there, in 1946, there was the Administrative Procedures Act. And so what happened was, through whatever means possible by the federal government, the corporate federal government, the last state joined the U.S. United States corporation. And so another claim that she made was pretty interesting, that, and when you hear about the history, you're like, that sounds accurate. So it was the Northwest Territory, and that was purchased by the federal government. But in the original Constitution, there are no provisions for the federal government to own land. So the federal government, they're to be trustees of public land, period. So for the states to be renting back to the federal government, although it may be true, it might be true in the corporate sense. So the original states were called states. It was Washington State, Texas State, California State, right? Florida State. It wasn't the state of Texas. It wasn't the state of California. It wasn't the state of Washington. When you see that or hear that, the state of, that's the corporation. And so the state of, the corporation called the state of, is probably paying rent to the corporate government. But everything that is about is not about our true republic, which is the sovereign land. So when we align as state nationals to our nation state, so I'm a blood-born Washingtonian, that's a real thing under God. I'm loyal to this state, this sovereign land where I was born, and its people and its community and its ways in the sovereign way as God intended, because God granted us dominion over the land, the air, and the water. So
Ananda, just real quick. Ananda,
yeah.
real quick. Would you let people know the difference between American state national, and what they're saying? Because a lot of people are using close terms and they're not meaning the same thing.
Yes. And we have a very special surprise tonight with a little fact sheet that spells out the difference between a U.S. national and a state national, also known as an American state national. So, oh my gosh, this is amazing. So look at this. Let's look at this. Viewers, I want you to take a screenshot. This is good stuff. Things that are different are not the same. So when we look on the left side of the page, you've got the USA. That's United States of America, which is a free republic. That's our original organic first republic, the sovereign land, sovereign nation. And we wanted to be free from the crown. And so that's what we did. And we were independent. And over on the right-hand side, you're going to see U.S. I should have said U.S. Inc. because it's U.S. Incorporated. Now in 1871, USA was converted, unlawfully converted, or lawfully, depending on who you ask. It was converted into a corporation, U.S. corporate government. So on the left, we are a de jure republic, meaning fair and I believe it's of the sun or of the day. Anyway, and on the right, we have de facto, which translates to without fact. On the left, under our free republic, we have American state nationals. And on the left, the left is USA and the right is US, is how it is here. And under the US corporate government is a US national. Now you can probably see how confusing this can get, because when you hear American national, guess what? That covers both. And if you open up your passport, I think it's the second page, it says that the Secretary of State or Department of State allows this, I think, American national / citizen or citizen / national, which actually encompasses both the free people, the sovereigns who've declared their sovereignty on the record, and it also includes citizens of the United States. How confusing. This is a sea of confusion. So hoping this brings clarity. Now in the USA, a person means people. That's a living, breathing man or woman. And in the US, a person means a citizen or a corporation. And a corporation is a dead entity. It has no life. It's a corpse corporation. So there is a little frog that is climbing on the wall that wants to listen to this. This is hilarious. Okay, so on the left, we have our title cap's name. Some people call that our Christian name or our family name. And you can see how that's written in a traditional way. On the right, in the US Incorporated, we have the all caps name. So you would see that on your social security card, your bank accounts, your credit cards. Now, over on the left, we have John Henry Doe. And on the right, we have John Henry Doe. Things that sound the same, almost resemble each other, are not the same. One, the living man, is very different than the all caps name. So the all caps name is where the U.S. corporate government or state government has assumed you, the living, to be chattel property, a legal fiction. Over on the left, we have USA owes allegiance to their nation under God. And guess what? As we united as those nation states united, they did so with the intention that they would be protected by the Constitution for the people, the original organic first Constitution, which is a trust originally. Before it was a corporation, it was a trust. And so over here on the U.S. side, U.S. corporate government, this is where the persons owe allegiance to the corporate government. Now, does that have the people's best interest at heart? No. A corporation has profits at the heart of the matter. On the left with USA, we've got sovereigns, meaning self-governing. And then on the right, you're literally chattel property. You are a ward of the state, and you're subject to corporate jurisdictions. Icky poo. Okay, on the left, child of God, what a celebration. We are created by God, and those of us who are in alignment with God, Creator, Great Spirit, what you call your Creator, what a fabulous thing to know God and to trust God and to know that you're under God. You stand under God as a servant of the Lord, or what your connection is with God. And then over on the right, your chattel property, and you're subject to the corporate government. So are you under God or are you under government? It's up to you to choose. And this is interesting. I love this one. And on the left, the USA, our free republic, you're the creator of the government because we've been ordained by God to be creators and have dominion over. And over on the other side, we've got creator of legal fictions. So the government makes things up like legal persons and changes definitions for their needs and wants, but not necessarily for the needs and wants of the people. And on the left, of course, you're a free inhabitant. On the right, you're a slave. And they have state assemblies, or excuse me, those ones I got mixed up. Pardon me. Jural assemblies are a free republic, and state assemblies are U.S. And actually, the woman, I believe she referred to grand assemblies, and I'd never heard that term before, but I think that might be what she's referring to, because I think those are statutory compliant assemblies, which kind of goes against the whole land jurisdiction, soil jurisdiction assemblies, which would uphold our Constitution and uphold the rights of the people. So, anyway, it's just crazy. It's just crazy, all of this, and confusing. But hopefully this little chart helps.
You want to also go over...
Voter? Oh, what it means to be a voter? Oh, okay. Before we get to this,
Yeah.
this one's pretty meaty too. Yeah, we're done with that last screen, but so
Okay.
you touched on being a voter. Like if you opt out of the U.S. corporate government, say you opt out and you don't want to be a U.S. citizen any longer, which sounds like, oh my God, of course I'm a U.S. citizen. It's like, no, you're an American. You're an American. A U.S. citizen is one who's loyal to the corporate government. It's so different. It's not loyal to America. But anyway, we've been tricked. But she was saying, oh my goodness, you can't vote. And when you, it's called, I just lost the word for a second, but you redact your signature. Okay. So when you redact your signature from the voter registration, you've done some really fabulous things. You can re-opt in as an elector, as we're supposed to be electors. Like, what's a voter? That's not our language. That's like constitutional language. We're electors. And guess what? Your elector vote, if it's even a vote, when you elect, your vote counts as 4 votes. That's how powerful it is. So you can opt out of being a voter and you can opt back in being an elector. How cool is that? So we empower ourselves even more by doing these processes.
I just want to make a statement here, Ananda. This is fabulous what you're doing and saying. I just want the people to have realization that in actual fact, however you want to do it, if you stand and you declare that you are free and you're no longer a ward of the state, you actually enter into the USA. You enter into the Republic. You come back to the free country that we once had. And so it's not leaving your country, it's entering into your true country. So it's an enter into, and you're just announcing you realize the fraud and you don't want to be a part of it. Have a good time.
Right.
A lot of our people and associates, we make comments of, it doesn't matter what they're doing. I'm living in the kingdom of heaven. Thank you very much. And so you must really put that on straight. And fear is the opposite of what? Of love. So anyone trying to put you into fear, beware. Just beware of what they're doing. And it may look something that's good, but if you're in fear of it, pay attention to it. So just, isn't that an amazing look at and mental state of, oh, wow, I'm re-entering back into the kingdom of heaven. I'm re-entering into the private. How wonderful is that? I have the courage to do that. That is awesome. Hey, listen, I believe it's around 5 million state nationals now. And to tell you the truth, using state national, I don't like it that much because that was created by Anna von Wrong or Anna von Rights, whatever her name is. And you know, I just like child of God. Who laughed at that? But it's true. Go ahead, Ananda. I'm so sorry. Go ahead.
You know, it's funny because we can call ourselves whatever we want. So I know that it looked like Lena had some issue with, it's a made up thing. Yes, it is. It's a made up thing. As long as it's in alignment with God's highest law, guess what? We get to be creative and we get to declare and decree what we are. If I want to be an American state national, I can declare and decree it. And if I want to be a child of God, I can declare and decree it. So, you know, it can be fun and creative. There's more than one way to get from point A to point B. So everybody's roadmap to sovereignty is going to look unique unto themselves. Some people, they develop themselves in ways where they don't want to alert the corporate government of their actions, but they feel confident enough that they could stand if they ever, you know, hit a bump in the road. But I like going out and saying, hey, oppressor, you're not allowed to do that anymore. And I don't consent. I don't agree. I am empowered. I'm taking my life back. I'm under God. I'm not under government. So forget about it. Thank you. I don't want it. So anyway, you know, I just thought, you know, she did make some sweeping statements. And one of them was that it sounded like she was blaming the American state nationals for a win that she was prepared to have with the assemblies across the USA. Apparently there were 34 states that were on board, and then a bunch of people jumped ship. Apparently they were American state nationals. Now, I'm not sure what type of assembly she's working with, but it might be possible that if her state assembly that she was working with was statutory compliant, and American state national said, oh, wait a minute, we don't want to be doing statutory anything, because when you're doing statutory compliant assemblies, now remember, those statutory codes were created to put an end to the republic. That's kind of their ultimate goal, is to not have the republic be successful. So why would you want to use their tools, so to speak, to try to create your republic, which you already have? So that, again, it's not anything new that we're doing. The republic already exists. It's kind of dusty, and we just need to brush it off and, like, hey, claim it, own it. So that's what we're doing. But I think that she is on the same page. It sounds like she's an ordained minister. Sounds like she's done a lot of homework. She's into sovereignty and freedom. So it's just, I don't know why she would just be so negative about a movement that is causing such an amazing effect. And if everybody were going to get arrested for treason, wouldn't they be lining up at the passport agency to arrest all these American state nationals? Because, you know, it just, some of the things just didn't add up to me. So I had to bring that out.
That's really good you brought that out, because a he's now a good friend, but he actually went to 2 of our events and hosted one. And he was traveling and near the border, and he was stopped by the Border Patrol and some federal agents there. And they asked him one question: "Are you a U.S. citizen?" And he looked at him straight in the eye and said, "No, I am not. I am a state national and proud of it." They looked at each other and then looked at him and said, "Oh, well, okay. Go ahead, sir. Thank you. Have a nice day." Now, what just happened there? That happened last week. What just happened there? The federal agent was acknowledging the validity of state national. They know about it. It's even recognized by the corrupted UN. I mean, because it's true. It just depends on how you want to do it. Now, one person on there, I think his name was Steve, and he put on there, is this all relevant of what we're doing here? And I say to Steve, check in with yourself and ask yourself that question, because it needs to be relevant to you, inside your heart. Otherwise, don't do it. You have to be all in. Do you know what that feeling is, to be all in, where there's no conflict within you? That is amazing. That's freedom. And when you vet it, when you research the information and you choose to stand that way, hallelujah, God comes. Anything else there, Ananda?
Yeah. I think ML was going to pull up another page, but I can just read from it. And this is something that we sent to our sheriff. We actually want the sheriffs to know and learn what a state national is, and so that they're not confused with a U.S. national versus an American state national. So an American state national is also known as a state national or a blood-born American. American state nationals are sometimes referred to as state citizens. An American state national recognizes that their home state is a nation state and they're loyal to their nation. So we already went over that. Sometimes they're called a state citizen. Now, when a state national is referred to as a state citizen, it would be if they were holding an official position as a public servant, such as a sheriff or something of this nature. So things that are different are not the same. Let's get clear. So the American state national is different from a United States national. And a state citizen is different from a U.S. citizen. American state nationals are sovereign beings, free, self-governing. Another term you might have heard, sui juris. It literally translates to self-governing. All rights reserved. We reserve all rights, our unalienable rights under God. And we operate under common law, constitutional law, and sometimes trust law, depending on the matter. Under God's law, so the American state national motto is love thy neighbor and do no harm. And it could possibly be religious, meaning the state nationals might be referring to the 10 Commandments and so on. They're loyal to the United States of America unincorporated. They are living souls. They're living, breathing men and women, and sometimes referred to as state citizens. And they go by family names. American state nationals are not persons as the 14th Amendment definition. In other words, they're not corporations. So during the 14th Amendment is when the word persons was converted to mean citizen. And if you dig deeper and you find the word citizen, it's corporation. This is brutal. So when American state nationals refer to the word person, they refer to it in the meaning before the 14th Amendment, prior to the 14th Amendment. And so they clarify their terms and meanings. And that's hugely important that we do that as sovereigns. We define what we mean. For instance, if you go in and you're standing before a judge and you say, "Judge, are you upholding your oath to uphold the Constitution?" And they answer, "Why, yes, I am." Well, then your next question should be, well, what Constitution are you speaking of? Because there's several constitutions. You see, there's our original republic, our first organic original Constitution for the United States of America, for the people, right? And then When the corporation was created, they created their own constitution. So are they referring to their corporate constitution, or are they referring to we the people constitution? Crazy. And American state nationals are not residents. They're not one who's there temporarily to do business. And they're not permanent residents. This is an oxymoron, for one cannot be somewhere temporarily and permanently at the same time. They're not chattel property. They're not enemies of the state. And that's very important. American state nationals are peaceful beings. They're non-combative, and they're neutral bodies. And their bodies are not to be used as surety. So they can't be held for ransom for a kidnapping to try to make a financial transaction go through. And they certainly are not wards of the state.
As a matter of fact, Ananda, in association with that, it is illegal for a bar attorney to represent a state national or child of God. They can only represent a corporation.
Yeah, they can only represent the straw man, a dead entity, someone who can't speak for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty wild. So this is huge. I mean, if sovereigns everywhere learn this could save your life one day. American state nationals are not sovereign citizens. Sovereign citizen terminology, that's a term that was made up, and it's inaccurate. It's actually an oxymoron, for one cannot be free and a slave at the same time. Sovereign means free. Citizen means municipal servant. A servant is a slave. So you cannot be free and a slave at the same time. When you become an American state national, please don't ever refer to yourself as a sovereign citizen. We're not. Yeah, I know. It's crazy. Not to be confused with the all caps name. You know, we do go over material many times, just to be clear, because we can't learn it enough. There's so much that they cluttered our minds with that we have to unlearn that first, all the lies and the garbage, and then we have to consider the new information and then feel inside, okay, does this feel true? Does this resonate? And all I know is when I hit truth, I feel happier. I get chills through my body. I'm smiling more. My shoulders are more relaxed. And ever since I became an American state national, I'm just so much more happy, effervescent. Like, I love life. I'm excited to share this information because I find it to be very empowering. That's
we're going to make Cullen the poster boy, because he's so full of life, right? And so happy. It just it oozes out from him. It's so wonderful to be there with them. Listen, I wanted to ask somebody, or everyone that's on in the private chat or comments. We mentioned a couple shows ago. It's about learning, discovering the truth, researching and vetting, and once it lives inside of your heart and your soul, then share the information. And it's all about approaching this to educate people. And that means to educate law enforcement, educate the sheriffs, educate the bar attorneys if you're friends with any, because a lot of them don't even know this exists. They may hear it here or there, but they don't bother to research it. And so I want to ask everybody to put in their comments, did anybody get into action yet? Are you approaching your sheriff? Are you writing your sheriff, calling your sheriff, meeting with your sheriff? Like I said, we just had our 9th meeting, I believe it was 9th, with our sheriff, 2 hours at a time, in person, in personam. And so with that, it's important to use and share this information with as many people as you can. That's how movements get traction and expand. If you just keep it yourself or with your family, it's good, but it's not the highest. The highest is, I believe it even says it in the Bible, that, when you want to share your wisdom, your knowledge with your neighbor, so that everybody becomes free. Everybody has that opportunity to choose the freedom that as a ward of a state, you do not have. Do you realize if you're a ward of the state, you don't own your property? You don't own your business, and you don't own your children. And that's why in court, if it ever gets to court, especially with your children, the state and the judge sides with the state, and they said, no, we own them. We can take them with made up crimes that you may have not committed, but they're saying you do commit. It happens all the time. I believe it's something like 10,000 children a day are getting collected and put into sex trafficking. We got to stop this. And the only way we can is to unite. The only way we can is to spread the information that frees us. Can you imagine if millions and millions, like it's happening, 3 or 4 or 5 million or maybe more state nationals now, and it reaches 20 million, 30 million, 40 million, what happens is the republic is surfacing. We're not going to war. We are surfacing the republic by living it. I've always said, you got to live it for it to be it. And if you want it, it's not going to happen just on paper. It's not going to happen just keeping it to yourself or being in fear. It's about being in joy. It's about being abundant. Now, somebody wrote in there in the comments that how can you get out of the commerce jurisdiction and survive? Oh, my goodness.
Right.
I'll tell you what, I and my family have expanded since we've done this. It's just an approach on how you do it.
Yeah. And
ask God every day if you don't. What do you want me to do today? It's such a powerful prayer. And he speaks to us. He does. And so you just got to listen and know it's true. What were you going to say, Ananda?
Oh, it can be a very smooth transition. There's many people that, they'll go and live off the land and they pull the plates off their car and put their "Don't Tread on Me" sticker. And they finish their bank accounts and all that. But as child of God living in the private, you can choose when you want to participate in commerce and when you want to opt out. So you always have a choice. And so, I still keep a bank account. I still keep a driver license. So it's up to you what degree, how many feet in and how many feet out you want to do. My feeling is this, is as we grow in numbers and we get stronger, some of these things in commerce that used to be necessary, they'll just simply start falling away. We won't need them like we used to. So it feels like it'll be a smooth, velvety transition. Hand of God be willing. Do you know what I mean? But if you're like super radical and you just want to go for it, yeah, you can be really dramatic about your exit from the system.
Don't forget, it really, your intention and the why you're doing it is so important. Right. If you are about the money and you go after the trust, you're going to be in trouble. If you are there to prove a point and you're angry and any law enforcement approaches you and you don't make them your friend, you're going to be in trouble. Come on, folks, use this too, but always love is the answer. It really is, because what you give out is what you get back. What's inside of your soul is going to be reflected in your human journey. Now, here's something that someone said something that I just love what she just said. And Diane, too. Diane says, I'm beginning to talk with friends and I'm starting to be able to verbalize everything. That's amazing. And now someone said, and I love this. Where is it? Well, she said, I watched Lena's first appearance on the CW show. He was enamored by her and thought she was brilliant. Not so much for me. And that feeling has never changed. But she says, where is it? It was so amazing. Wait a minute. I'll find it. It was just something that it was so wonderful. She said something about, what you just said allowed me to know of why I did not resonate to what Lena was saying. That is amazing. So that means that at least one person here, because of what ML has set up, Debbie and ML set it up for us to talk, and now people are cognition. You're having an emotional experience of some truth that you hear. They're cogniting on all this information. That's amazing. Thank you so much for that. Isn't that wonderful, Ananda?
Yeah, it's so beautiful. I want to touch on one more thing, and then I'm going to yield because I want to hear some others, insights and commentary and everything. But this came from a website called AmericanStates.us, and I thought it was very well written. And it is this: as a completely unincorporated person. I'm going to say that again. An unincorporated person. As a completely unincorporated person, a state national is sovereign and private and generally immune from prosecution until and unless they take some action that causes actual physical harm to someone else or their property, whereupon they're subject to the common law of the county and the state where they live or where the alleged crime was committed. So in the law, I always say the law boils down to two things. Number one, keep your promises, and that's the basis of contract law. And number two is do no harm to other people or their property, and that's the basis of criminal law. So state nationals are not immune to when there has been a crime committed. If they've caused harm to another, they need to be held accountable. And through common law and constitutional law, there's a possibility for that to happen. So, hallelujah.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. How do you think this is going, ML? You like it?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Well, I also wanted to get into a couple other things that she talked about. One, if my memory serves me correctly, she stated that all states west of the Ohio River means that you are a national to that, or the federal government owns all of the states west of the Ohio River. So
that's not true.
Is what she claimed.
The federal government cannot own states. If they own the state, where's the title? And did we, the people, receive any money? The federal government cannot own property. They can own a little bit based on some amendments in the Constitution, military bases. But for public, they're to be trustees. And then I actually have a note on that
while you're looking at that, do you know that a judge cannot issue any kind of dealings in court about land patents or allodial title property? If the judge says anything with that, he just committed a felony.
That's right. That's right.
Law.
That's right, because these are based on treaties, and these treaties cannot be overturned. They're higher than anything, any Supreme Court ruling or anything. The treaties existed. These are international treaties. So if folks want to look up, it's the Federal Land Policy Act. Federal Land Policy Management Act that was passed in October of 1976. And what they did is they went in and they tried to claim something that they had no right to. That was the federal government, where they went in and they claimed that they had the right to the land, which they don't. And I'll bet you 10-1, there's no title that can be presented because they don't have title to the land. And then so they claimed they claimed something that they couldn't claim. And then the Constitution forbids that the federal government can own anything. There are trustees, and we are the creators of the government. So we are not subject to the government. We are the creators of original jurisdiction. And so the whole thing is kind of a big mess, really. But once we shed light, we should be able to find our way out of this maze.
And that's what we're doing. Mm-hmm. We are in the Republic. We are in the private, and we're sharing researched information backed by evidence of law, and in some cases, even statutes, that they break their own statute. But we are shedding light on the truth so that we can live in truth. If we continue to do this, and millions of people come on board to do it, the darkness disappears because we are presenting the truth. We are presenting God's law, and that light is so powerful. And of course, when you turn the light on in a dark room, what happens to the dark? It disappears.
Well, only if you take it out of the bushel and you set it on a hill, you make it public.
There you go. Hey,
You
now
can't have
listen.
it on the bushel.
What's your name? I forget who said. I think it was Timothy. He said in the comments, "This video is so amazing. It's such a great resource for friends and family, and for people who are still asleep." What a great comment! Thank you, Timothy. Awesome. It is. All the information is amazing.
Yeah.
I'd like
What
to,
else, ML? What else do we have to?
I'd like to add something there real quick, ML.
All right. Go ahead, Jason.
Thanks, man. That document that you just had up that Ananda was reading, if you can bring it back up, if you don't mind, you have it.
Yeah,
I wanted to show, that one. Somewhere in there, everything is disclosed, right? Everything is contractual. They have to disclose everything. Everything is language. Everything is trickery. Everything you have to use your own discernment on all the language. But here, I think it's the one that said an incorporated person. Is that right? Is sovereign? Is an unincorporated person is not sovereign? I mean, is sovereign? I'm not sure if it was this one, but you were reading it from one of the documents. But that sentence alone is a disclosure that what they're saying is that the only way you are not free is if you are part of the corporation. And an unincorporated citizen.
Jason.
What's that? It was saying an unincorporated.
Yeah, let me read this to you. This is what. Yeah, this is where you're going at. So it says in 8 USC section 1101, the term national of the United States means A, a citizen of the United States, or B, a person who, not a citizen of the United States, owes permanent allegiance to the United States. 28 USC section 3002, definitions. United States means A, a federal corporation, B, an agency, department, commission, board, or other entity other than of the United States, or C, an instrumentality of the United States. So this person, here's my attorney friend who brought me all this to jump this in my lap a couple days ago. This is the gentleman last week I had you guys address some of his points, right? So he's saying, so therefore, a state national versus American national, which we are all born as, owes a permanent allegiance to the corporation by definition. So when you become a state national, you are surrendering your American national status, which is superior, to become a lesser status or a state national, similar to a citizen who is not born here but takes a test and swears an allegiance to gain that status. I don't mean to hammer this, but I do know the law and I can read the statutes from my prior training. This is a big deal. I had my reservations about the entire ASN process from the beginning, as well you know. And Lena just connected the dots for me. He then goes on to say, last point, 18 USC section 911, citizens of the United States, whoever falsely and willfully represents himself to be a citizen of the United States shall be fined under this title or imprisoned not more than 3 years or both. This is the trap. And funny, it's section 911. So this is interesting. Okay. And so, again, going back and watching the programs like we did with Lena and stuff like that, it's really clear that there's an agenda here itself, because she at the beginning utilizes the Bible, comes from the same precept that you guys do, common law, trust law. This is where everything's guaranteed to us at, right? That's great. But like you said, an American state national is also known as just a state national. It's just right. They're parsing this. We are American state nationals. The process that you're doing, because she talks about how you don't need to do an affidavit. An affidavit is unnecessary to do this, all these things like that. And it's like, this is where the confusion's coming in at, because there's truth being sprinkled into this, but yet there are half truths also, being sprinkled in and then left out on top of that as well. And you guys are doing a great job explaining this itself. And what I thought we could do at another time is on the Telegram channel, where people can actually directly ask you guys fairly in-depth questions such as these things. I think it'd even be better, because people need to have this dialogue like we're trying to do right here, instead of being preached to and talked down to itself. Like the lady had said when she watched Charlie Ward's episode on there, she had that uneasy feeling because of the way she approached this. She comes from an attack, and an attack, and an attack. And I have to ask myself this: when you are putting yourself out there, but you're aligning yourself with certain truthers who have somewhat questionable integrity issues, shall we say, well, then you have to ask yourself, cui bono, right? Cui bono.
I don't know what cui bono means.
Who benefits?
Right.
Who benefits?
Right. And there was a bit of make wrong, like you're doing it wrong. So, there's not to invalidate anything she said, because it's a choice. You see, people can write an affidavit if they choose, but it's good to know what it is. It's a declaration of truth, and it's recognized in statutory law circles. And it's also recognized in common law circles. But you can also use a trust law application and write a letter. So someone had asked, aren't you double-minded if you still have a driver license? And it would depend on your consciousness, because as we transition, I want everyone to be really gentle with themselves as we transition to our free republic, and we really get comfortable in it, because we've been raised in the corporate government ideology since the time we were born, and our parents before us and their parents before them. So what happened is that became a way of life. And so now we have to transition into a completely new way of life. And I'm saying it doesn't have to be so jolting and dramatic. You can do it when you're ready, at the pace that you want. It doesn't make you double-minded. You're bringing awareness. Now you're aware of what the driver license is. Remember, God granted us dominion over the land, the air, and the water. Those are the 3 jurisdictions. And so we get to wear different hats, because as we step into our beneficiary position and even acting as executor beneficiary is the only one who can see both the living and the dead. So what does that mean? It means you can use conscious awareness to know where you're at. And God wanted us to master the 3 jurisdictions. So we know where we're at, know how to use it, know when to use certain language, jurisdiction. That's right law words. So when we're in the common law, constitutional law jurisdiction, we're going to use common law, constitutional words. And when we're in statutory, admiralty law jurisdiction, we're going to use legalese and a lot of their statutory words. And when we're speaking trust law, we're going to be using trust language. So I don't think it makes one double-minded unless you don't know who you are. If you really are off balance inside and you're flip-flopping and you think, oh no, I'm the all caps name, because you really relate to that and you haven't really embraced child of God I am, right? Then yeah, you would be seen double-minded. But if you know where you're at every step in the game, you'll be okay. And it's a choice. Everything's a choice. You can do a smooth transition, or you can cut it off like a Band-Aid, or, the quick Band-Aid pull, right? Like they were talking about earlier.
And on that note, you can use your driver's license and sign beneficiary on it.
This is true.
And say the reason why I have my driver's license is so that you have an identification of who the beneficiary is.
Mm-hmm.
That's some trust language, but that's also, see, the system it's not to be opposed to the system.
Right.
Learn how to use the system for your benefit of how it's designed. And then you can navigate through that system in honor with clean hands and consciously as a sovereign being implementing the system. See, there's the nexus is like a Federal Reserve note or something, or the currency, even though money technically doesn't exist. Well, there's an agreement, and there's even Supreme Court cases that support the agreement that just because you're part of a monopoly does not mean that you're subject to that monopoly. In other words, the monopoly doesn't have jurisdiction over you. So you can utilize the system for your benefit in honor with clean hands, peacefully, knowing who you are to navigate through it while not being subject to it. And then utilize what's there for your benefit and in the way it's designed.
You have to really use, with all your research and whatever you choose to do, a bit of intelligence in dire situations. As I said, if I'm ever stopped by law enforcement, pirates, or any of the above there, I always make them my friend, because I realize with the information that I have that even if they cite me, they give me a citation, I'll rescind it. So far, we've been 100% effective in rescinding any citation.
That's right.
Doesn't matter what it does, even ones that include felonies, because it's all fictitious. It's all part of commerce. They're not really citing you. They're citing your all caps name.
That's right.
If law enforcement ever says, do you understand? You say, no. You can say, I comprehend, but never say you stand under the fictitious law of commerce. It's really, and that's part of knowing who you are. I want to address this one question before we lose it. Lori Ann just wrote, who owns the land? Where are the houses? Have an address, the lot numbers on our property taxes. Will property taxes be unlawful? Be unlawful? They have been unlawful from the get-go. We're just realizing, vetting the information to be able to stand. And the most important thing for any landowner is to get your land patent and have your property be in a allodial title. This is essential. Now, I want you to look that up, everyone. Allodial title, land patents, and what you need to do. A little bit of help is on Rumble. Everybody knows rumble.com. Look at Americans in Action and Hidden Truth News and find the interview. I have an 1.5-hour interview with Ron Gibson, the expert that we know of land patents. He's been doing it for over 35 years, and he's helped over 1,200 people over those years. And so, there's also responsibility with that. So you have to vet the information, have to realize what you're doing. Because even if you have a land patent, which stands in the very truth of owning your land, and you're actually taking it away from the Roman law, commerce owning it, there's responsibility there, and you have to have realization of the words that you use. You just can't get a land patent and stop paying taxes. You're going to get into trouble. Yeah, there's ways of doing it, and you have to be very intelligent. And so also Hidden Truth News page on our website, americansinaction.info. You can also find an enormous amount of information, including the Ron Gibson interview. Really go over that. I've watched it 5 times so far. So number of time over materials equals certainty. Never fret going over something over and over again. It's sort of like, did you ever see a film and then like 3 weeks later you see it again and you're going, what the heck? I didn't see that. I didn't know that. I don't remember this. And you'll watch it again and the same thing will happen. We receive 10 to 20% of everything that we're presented, including this video. So go over this video over again and again and again and vet all the information. Make it your own. Have it live here, not just here. Here's important, but this is primary. So have it live there where you're one with the wisdom, and now no one can move you off center, because in it living inside you, both places, you now have knowing. That's the only way you have knowing, if you receive it here, which means energetically, emotionally. Extremely important in being a child of God, of living in the kingdom of heaven, and utilizing trust law. One other comment with trust law, which is extremely important, maybe the most important. This is our recommendation. Never step foot in the platform called the court, because you are in their jurisdiction. And as soon as you have done that, if you are a state national, you committed treason. If you aren't and you do that anyhow, you are under their jurisdiction and they may do anything to you, criminal. So handle everything administratively. It's powerful. The word is the way. It is so powerful. We handle everything administratively. Try it. You'll like it.
That was an awesome plug. Try it. You'll like it. I wanted to go back. ML, you had mentioned something about, what did she say? Something about, oh no, did I lose my train of thought? State national, standing. Oh shoot, I forgot. I'll jump back in when I remember it. Jay, you mentioned something about the Articles of Confederation. What was that?
Oh, in her video, for those of you who haven't watched it, she uses a lot of her arguments, and I'm going to say arguments, even though I don't like to use the word arguments, because that in itself has the notion of conflict and separation. But she uses it as an argument, which is she derives her position from the Articles of the Confederation. And she says those documents that they draft up from the Articles of Confederation, I think she said, but maybe it means that she's utilizing the Articles of Confederation as reference to draft up her own documents so as to declare that people are sovereign. So when you know the Articles of Confederation, the Articles of Confederation were basically the founding stones for the forefathers, drafted up by 13 of our forefathers. And basically it was a denotion of the 13 original colonies. From the Articles of Confederation, it then spouted off into the Constitution for the United States. But the Articles of Confederation were basically 11 or 12 articles. I think it was 12 articles. And they basically declare leaving from the king and now creating this new world, but only for the 13 original colonies. The Republic was then the entire nation, so to speak, but the Articles of Confederation were the original 13 colonies. And so when she was talking about, we have documents that are, from the Articles of Confederation, my first question was, does that mean you're only writing based on the 13 original colonies? Because the Republic is beyond that. The Republic is the entire Americas. So I needed to have her clarify that, because it wasn't something that was clear for me, because to use the Articles of Confederation without then going into the Constitution for the United States is like an incomplete process, let alone bringing in the amendments, of which those who are American nationals or state nationals or just free men, women living on the land, their support is the Constitution for the United States, the amendments, the Articles of Confederation, and then rooted from biblical principles. So one can even use the Bible as your only substance for proving that you're a living free man or woman. So if you keep going back further and further in history, you'll see that the Republic was, is, and always will be, and its derivatives are from biblical principles. So the Articles of Confederation, when she uses it, it even includes Canada. I mean, Article number 11, look it up. It just says Article number 11, the Articles of Confederation recognized at that time as Canada if they were to decide to be part of the Americas. So when she says it's if you were to be a state national, you'll be one without a country. Well, first you just have to stop and look and say, okay, well, everything is within context. Equity is context. So you can use the word person. That's what I wanted to see with that other document. They said unincorporated person means a free person.
Let me just say one thing there, Jay, just to interject for the people. She meant to say, she didn't mean to say you'll be without a country. She meant to say you'll be without a corporation. Go ahead.
Yeah. So when you say words, because it's all language, when you say words, it's all within context. So even in equity, you can use the word person, and persona means in person. But in the context of living to living, man to man, mano to mano, old west, right? Let's go duke this out, mano to mano, right? That's living to living, and then whoever loses is not living anymore in the old west context, right? But if you want to know what language is, you just go. Here's a Black's Law Dictionary in conjunction with, I brought, pardon my exit here, you also bring in your Webster's Dictionary. And when you look up the word country and you just look it up, it says a territory occupied by independent nation or people. Independent. Then you look up independent, and the word independent means sovereign, without being under the jurisdiction or the demise or the control of something else. So if you just stop right there, if you're somebody without a country, the definition is a territory occupied by independent nations or people. The Articles of Confederation, and this country was founded by forefathers who basically, and this goes back all the way to the land question, who infiltrated this country. They came from Europe for real estate acquisition, basically, to escape a king, right, that was being a dictator, basically. So they wanted to go create their own nation. So they come here and find a nation of people, which is what the definition of a country is, independence. And those people had what we call tribes. And those were Native American tribes. And each of those tribes had their own constitution. But who was their authority? Well, they call that Mother Earth. They call that the nature. They call that to be the goddess. And they derived their constitutions in harmony with the eagles and the trees, and were honored to their god. And they created trading between tribes. Well, when the Europeans came over in conquest, basically, they intermingled with the Native Americans and learned what the constitutions were, even how to write constitutions. And therefore, when you look in the Constitution, it talks about trade, it talks about territory, it talks about tribes. Or what's a state? A state is a compilation of people, a nation, that has their own product that barters with other states. Well, therefore, the Articles of Confederation, we're talking about trading. So when you start going back to all of it, the country was, is, and always will be under God. So when you want to repudiate from a corporation, you're basically saying, I'm not playing in your tribe. I'm going.
And you're basically saying this: you have attempted to replace real true God, and you wanted us to have a relationship with you as you being our God. And we do not do that. We live with our living God. That's the most important thing and aspect of leaving the rogue government, leaving it, because we are announcing and living, I live under my Father.
That's right.
My Father and I are one. And in that's the most important thing that you're doing. Is what she's saying going against that? Oh my goodness. This is where there's some shady stuff there. I'm not sure about it.
I don't know if she's going against that as much as it seemed like she was blaming the American state nationals for the outcome of some assembly goal for success for reclaiming the republic.
Yep.
And basically saying, don't just walk, run, because it's a trap. It's a trap. So she's kind of like, sounding the alarm that becoming an American state national is a trap and you'll be in treason. But as far as I know, being a woman without a country is not a treasonous act. So, well, I mean, it just, a lot of it just sounded like a lot of reactive stuff.
Well, she said.
What's that?
What, ML?
Yeah, she said that, she said that this is a deep state operation, that the state national was a deep state operation to take us away, take our focus away of where it should be at, which is, the state assembly organization and stuff like that. I mean, those are exactly what her words were, was this state national program, PSYOP, is a deep state PSYOP.
That is exactly so interesting, ML. That is so interesting that she made that statement, because that's exactly what the Democrats do. Whatever tyranny, whatever they're doing corrupted, they say that Trump or they say that the Patriots are doing. So she just made an announcement what she's doing.
And in addition to that, when you hear the language that she's using, which is what I was trying to emphasize, to say that an assembly is a threat, the state national is a threat to assembly, well, you have to look up the word assembly. All sovereigns, people, only people can assemble. Only people, living, breathing men and women, can assemble. Only sovereigns can assemble. When you look up the word country, you look it up in any of the dictionaries that you want, whether you use a Black's Law dictionary, a Webster's dictionary, or go online, and you look up the definitions, all a country means is a group of people assembled together. And then they create their own governments, this, that, and the other thing, and it just goes forward from there. So again, when you come back to the beginnings of these American lands, and land can only be granted, it cannot be purchased. So when she says that they purchased it, well, it was a fraudulent purchase, because like Ananda was saying, where's the title? Where is the patent? Where's the grant? Right? Yeah. The Native Americans never purchased land. They knew they couldn't own anything because it was a gift from God. And they created their constitutions and their tribes, their countries, based on the foundations of the groups that they were with. So all the assemblies are just parts of the seeds of the foundation of the country, which created the republic, which joined together with the rest of the republic to create a unified country under one nation, under one God, is what it was supposed to be. So it's hard for me to believe the statement that when she says state nationals, and I like to say state nationals are synonymous to American nationals, whether you have a UCC code or not, because with that, it's basically saying that we're free living men and women on the land under God, connected and united together for one goal and purpose, which is to protect our unalienable rights granted to us by our Creator, which is life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, which includes, like somebody said in the comments, to travel. And being in the corporation is a voluntary act. She also said in her video that, oh, you have to take a test and this and that. Well, yeah, because you have to volunteer yourself to become part of a corporation, a citizen, or you're born into it. And then they give you documents without fully disclosing that you don't have to have these documents.
Yeah, and that was when I lost my train of thought, that was it. So this is for your attorney friend. I love, he's got very thoughtful questions. So when she was referring to the American citizen test, it was for the U.S. corporate government. That's the test she's referring to. So yeah, you do have to take a test to become part of the corporation. And you know, that is different than our de jure republic. And then just curtailing back around to the assemblies. I know a lot of American state nationals that are doing great assembly work. And what they're doing is they're restructuring and creating the true, Jay, help me out with the word. What am I looking for here? Our true judicial system, our courtrooms, and we have some that are self-appointed or not self-appointed, elected sheriffs, de jure sheriffs, actually.
Yeah, you're acting as in the republic, which is by the people, for the people, a jury of your peers.
Yeah.
And I appreciate your attorney's, it's an interesting thing. I appreciate your attorney's questions when he says, but he's also an attorney who took a test to pass a bar to enter a club. Same thing, like a citizen would have to take a test to pass a citizenship to enter a corporation. And then that corporation that he says he knows the law of is what he took a test to pass. So it's the same test to facilitate the same information, the same indoctrination that he can now defend or cross-examine in a courtroom that is indoctrinated and created by the system that put out the test. So of course he's going to use test language and say, well, I know the law. Well, yeah, because you took the same test that was perpetuated by the corporation, so that you could defend the corporation, which, by the way, the corporation was created by the British crown, which was created the barrister in the first place, which is why they're called esquires. So they created a test to defend the crown, to create the corporation that wrote the same test for the citizens, that wrote the same test for the bar. So everybody who knows those tests will go into the courtroom where that corporation will capitalize off the people who took the test.
Now, here's the thing with this, with the corrupted commerce that we're talking about, this was all created and still is monitored, and people are listening to and doing their bidding from the Vatican and the Khazarian Mafia. These are the ones that are running the show. The Federal Reserve System was set up by the Khazarian Mafia, was set up by the Vatican. It's not even even though it says Federal Reserve, it is, they want to fool you. It's not part of the original government. Either is the CDC, either is the IRS. They are all corporations for profit set up by the deep state. That's the reason why we don't want to have any part of it any longer. And when you live as a child of God, and you realize that even with the IRS, it's a voluntary system. We have a video that states from an IRS agent, he might even be an assistant director, that it is voluntary. He says it 3 times. And so you have to know, it's not you wait for Nasara with that. It is right now that the fraud is happening. And it's up for us to discover and vet the truth, and then have the courage to live it using intelligence to stay out of trouble. But if you do it the right way, that's a good word, the right way, then you're going to be absolutely fine. There are so many people that are living the truth of being in the kingdom of heaven, but they have vetted the information over and over again. They brought it inside their soul, and they're happy as a clam. And they don't cause any kind of sensationalism. They just speak the truth, live the love, help thy neighbor, honor God. You're in good shape.
Yeah. And remember, it's not we the persons, it's we the people. And it's not united we fight, it's united we stand. So we are people and we are standing. And we created that original jurisdiction because we're one of we the people. And we inherited that creatorship, if you will, grantorship. We inherited that. So we created the government. And now we have the right to stand when we see, oh, that's not our real government acting. These are actors masquerading around and trying to convince the people. And they've done a great job for 150 years convincing the masses that that's our true republic. But this is why you can be 1% and be a republic and uphold justice. And it will work because through the hand of God, you can call it out and you could be the only one in the room. And if you're the only one in the room aligned to truth, you are the majority.
It's true that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So I just get super excited. And I feel like I just want to extend the olive branch to Lena because I think that we're all learning as we go. And I feel her heart. I don't think that she's trying to cause problems, but I think that maybe she just didn't have all the information. So hopefully she can watch this and or we can do a round table. I would love that. Let's have an open discussion. Let's talk about, we have to have tough topics, tough conversations these days. So let's do it.
One thing, I agree. And one thing, I'm sorry, Emma, what were you going to say?
No, I just said, and I'm going to try and get that organized. Absolutely. Because this is the only way by dialoguing that we can get because here's what happens in this movement. People will take what we're saying tonight, and I'm going to promote the heck out of this show on other platforms, even outside of my own platforms, because I want this to get out there and reach to her and reach to other people that have watched those shows. I want this to reach as many people as possible. I want to stir stuff up, energy. I want to stir energy up into this positive energy because we are doing it in a positive way. Because she seems to me like she's a kind of divine spirit who likes and doesn't mind being called out in a way, you know what I'm saying, in a tactful way, but wants the dialogue. Seems to me she likes to dialogue. And that's one of the things that I'm impressed about her is she's very forthright and she's very adamant in her own beliefs and understanding of things, like we all are, right? We all have a little bit of an ego. That's one of our biggest downfalls is we all have a little bit of an ego, and that's okay. That's kind of what drives us, as long as we channel that in a very positive way. And that's what we want to do, at the end of the day, is make this a very positive experience for everybody that is coming here. Because I don't want anybody. Okay, so we have an amazing event coming up at the end of this month in Des Moines, Iowa. And I know right now in the heads of a lot of our patriots out there, they are feeling scared because it's not just what this information is doing. It's because they're seeing everything that's going on around us in our world, here in our country, around the world, all these uncertainties that are happening. It's got people pulling back and saying, I'm going to wait and see what actually shakes out between now and the midterm elections. We shouldn't hold off on that. We should keep pushing forward no matter what happens, because a lot of this is out of our control. Let's focus on the things we have control of and utilize the opportunity of the things we have in control of in our lives and just keep moving forward in that direction. We can manifest whatever we want to happen. And this is part of that process right here.
Hey, ML, that's a good point with that. May I offer a little spiritual aspiration here on
Absolutely.
how to really handle this situation? But first, we have Americans in Action, Correcting Your Status Masterclass, October 29th and 30th, Saturday and Sunday, Des Moines, Iowa. Learn how to create a lawful repudiation, recording and mailing process, write law words and how to use them, how to navigate jurisdiction, how to handle court matters administratively, the history of the swindle, diplomatic immunity, passport, question and answers. Oh my goodness. And that's going to be the contact person is Debbie Stevens. She has her number there and her email address. We hope to see you there. I know ML is going to be there with the bells on. And so, and so that's awesome with that. On the spiritual aspect of it, you spoke about fear and that people are succumbing to fear. Anytime a person really has in their heart that they want to do something, but fear comes up and it stops them from taking action, this is how this works. As the fear comes up, people do not like the feeling of fear. And so the feeling comes up, and what do they do with fear? They close their heart to it. They don't want to be afraid. If you close your heart to any emotion that comes up, because guess what? Nobody can put you in fear. They're just a runner pulling up emotion that's inside your soul already. So this is a grand opportunity to purify yourself and to become more powerful in love. So fear, when it comes up, being the opposite of love, will stop you in your tracks from getting what you want, which is really what you want. And how you handle that is you have to realize there is such a thing as intellectual emotional experience. Most people keep their emotions that come up based on situations and occurrences like this. And in that, they close down to it and they keep it intellectual emotionally. And that's where you get stopped in your tracks. How you have to approach your emotional experiences is you have to take that fear when you're by yourself, and you have to announce to yourself, I am so afraid. Fear, I know of your pain, and I'm going to really focus on you and allow you 100%, and I'm going to be afraid 100% in this moment. I am so afraid. Now, if you do that genuinely and you get out of your head, out of your intellect, and you make it an emotional, energetic experience, and you're going to build your relationship with fear, you're going to do what? You're going to make fear your friend instead of closing down to it. And anything that you allow to come inside of you 100%, and you coexist with that energy, that emotion of fear, a miracle happens every time. That fear, because you are the light of God consciousness in your heart and soul. And you are now allowing the denser experience of energy known as fear to come inside you and live it. It takes 1 second to live it wholly and completely, all in. I am so afraid. That miracle that happens is the fear dissipates. And what happens is the mind, the thought factory, actually quiets down. And the mind is not active anymore. And that's the first time you will be in purity of the emotion known as fear. And you become one with fear. And what happens? Because you are the light. Anything that is not the light dissipates and disappears and melts away. And you are free. And you truly enter into the kingdom of heaven. And God is sitting right beside you, holding you so well, because you have deleted something of the dark, and now you are of the light. Oh my God. Try it. I'm telling you, it works every time. Now, you may have to try it a few times because most people are not used to leaving the intellectual, emotional experience of life, which keeps you separate from your whole life. And we are actually, because we do that, because we're conditioned to do that, because we do that and live that, we are a duality. What does that mean? That means we have conflict within. That's why we have conflict without, because it's representative of what's inside of our soul. And to take full responsibility for it, to be fully responsive, your ability to respond to the emotion is to open up your heart to the fear and allow it to be there. I'm telling you, you will have a brand new life. And you can apply this with any emotion because you're going to find out something. All emotions, trepidation, apprehension, fear, loss, anger, hatred, any emotion that is not love, the only true emotion is love. The only true energy is love. That's where the kingdom of heaven is, in the root of love. And in you allowing all those emotions instead of performing from those emotions, you are going to purify yourself and your consciousness expands. Your heart, your love expands. Your heart opens up more and more and more. And that is requesting, asking God to be inside you and live you because he is the truth and the love of all. And you become one with your creator as it's meant to be. And that is the true kingdom of heaven on earth. And that's how life was supposed to be. That's how God made the earth, because he wanted you to be in love and have heaven on earth. Do you know this is the only dimension of life where you can touch God? Oh my goodness, what a gift. What a journey. What a love. What an amazing experience you can touch God. How wonderful is that? Because 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 20th dimension is all spirit. There's no physical.
Mm-hmm.
The kingdom of heaven is not physical.
Mm-hmm.
The physical can be the beneficiary of the kingdom of heaven, but it is not the kingdom of heaven because everything in the third dimension is separate. You look over there. Ananda's over there. I'm over here. Cohen's over there, right? The glass is there. I'm over here. Separate. Guess what the definition of pain is? Separation. If you are separate from the fear, you're in pain. If you are separate from the anger, you are in pain. Now, make sure that you really comprehend this. It's important. Never perform when you are in emotion other than love. If you perform anything, you plant your garden, you eat your food, you do the laundry. If you are in love, that activity becomes sacred because love is God and you're bringing God in it. If you are in anger, in hatred, in guilt, in conflict, it's not sacred. It actually becomes ugly because you're performing through the denser emotion. How you resolve everything about you that lives in your soul, because that's the only thing that keeps us from the kingdom of heaven, is unfelt feelings, unallowed feelings. So in that, the kingdom of heaven comes inside of you when you are a yes to any emotion that comes up from your soul, and that the occurrence can be a person, a place, or a thing, that you create an occurrence to bring up that emotion. And the only reason you did that is so that you have an opportunity to purify it, because otherwise it stays hidden in the soul. And that is the veil away from having experience with the Galactic Confederation, having experience interdimensionally, having experience of truly living in the kingdom of heaven, not just a statement with nothing involved in it, but your consciousness changes, your life changes. We are used, the highest form of life is one. And you become one instead of two, separate from yourself. You become one everything that comes upon you, you become one with. So instead of just talking with Cohen, where Cohen's over there, Cohen and I coexist. And that's the kingdom of heaven.
Mhm.
Hearing this, it's powerful.
It
And
is.
it works in association with trust law, God's law, because it is God's law, but it has been forgotten over the ages. It was actually in the original Bible, and they buried it. Actually buried it in the sands of Aruna, also known as Egypt.
You know
And-
what I'd like to do?
What?
I want to play this short little video because you do this to me every time, Chris.
That's ML. He's having an emotional experience. I love it.
I'm telling you, you guys do this to me every time. I want to share this video. I don't even know where I found this at. I was just doing a general search, and you know how
Oh, they
things
come
work
to
out.
you.
Yeah,
You
they
are
do.
a true
They do.
seeker, and they come to you.
They do. And this was profound. I mean, it was profound. So we'll move on here after this video real quick.
Okay. I'm excited.
Old pirates, yes, they rob I, sold I to the merchant ships. Minutes after they took I from the bottomless pit, but my hand was made strong by the hand of the Almighty. We forward in this generation triumphantly. Won't you help to sing these songs of freedom? 'Cause all I ever have, redemption songs, redemption songs. Emancipate yourselves from mental slavery. None but ourselves can free our minds. Have no fear for atomic energy, 'cause none of them can stop the time. How long shall they kill our prophets while we stand aside and look? Ooh, some say it's just a part of it. We've got to fulfill the book. Won't you help to sing these songs of freedom? 'Cause all I ever have, redemption songs, redemption songs, redemption songs. Emancipate yourselves from mental slavery. None but ourselves can free our mind. Oh, have no fear for atomic energy, 'cause none of them can stop at the time. How long shall they kill our prophets while we stand aside and look? Yes, some say it's just a part of it. We've got to fulfill the book. Won't you help to sing these songs of freedom? 'Cause all I ever have, redemption songs. All I ever have, redemption songs. These songs of freedom, songs of freedom.
I love Marley because he wrote like that. That's why they murdered him,
Yeah.
because he was bringing out too much truth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is awesome. Thank you for playing.
Marley in the house.
It's amazing. Just brilliant.
Yeah.
Just
Absolutely.
brilliant. He's just so amazing.
Oh, wow. Well, we've had an amazing night. Again, you know, I mean, this is, you know, for some, this is be church for them, right? I mean,
Yes.
wherever the Spirit of God
Yes.
is with us, we are God, God is us. This is where we're at. And I wish more truthers with larger followers would do this within their audiences. They have that influence to really share the Spirit of God and divineness within their audiences. And it's so sad that they squander that opportunity each and every time to only focus on secular things that are not of God. It's sad.
Yeah. But it's changing.
Yeah.
It is.
The kingdom of heaven, we're taking off the cloak that they put on top of it. And every day, more and more heaven is around us and in us. It's so beautiful. It's such a great journey. We are so gifted to be here on this planet, on God's planet at this time, because we're going to experience the great corruption that most of us didn't know about. It's so deep. I mean, we could talk for weeks with the corruption. You know that, ML. And so with that, it's like, it's a journey of being surrounded and being in the fraud, and we didn't even know it, to knowing it and then resurrecting the kingdom of heaven. That's why God is smiling. It's such a wonderful opportunity. And it's angels like you, ML, that assist so many people. We wanted to thank you so much for all that you do, all that you are. And you're an instrument of God. You listen and you do. And it's so beautiful and so wonderful. Thank you again. We're honored to be here to share time with you and Cohen and Debbie and everybody in the audience. We love you. Have love be our incentive of holding our whole country once again into the beautiful republic. So beautiful. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you so very much. Again, I think we need to get on the Telegram, and it doesn't even need to be all of you. Just one of you would be fine. But I think we're at this point where in Telegram, more people interact, which is nice, you know, and so people can be more direct and ask questions, which, of course, is obviously recorded. And I am going to reach out to Lena tonight or first thing in the morning and invite her to participate into a program. And I hope that she accepts that out of love and the spirit of, you know, kindness, that this is what we're trying to do, because, you know, we're not trying to play gotcha or anything else like that. We just want people to have absolute truth. And I'm one of the very few, probably in this movement, that tries to present both sides and try and be fair and balanced. Isn't it funny? You know, we used to have fair and balance in the news up until the early 90s. Then you can start seeing things change. You know, fair and balance went by the wayside. And we have subscribers. They don't know what it used to be like to be able to watch the news and you'd have a fair and balanced news report. They have no idea what that's even like. So when you try and tell them, you know, only 30 years ago, we used to have access to fair and balanced reporting, and not so much anymore. You know, that's why it's up to us. We're the ones that's trying to be fair and balanced. That's why it's incumbent upon us to be those special messengers.
That's right.
Yeah. Because that's honorable.
That's right. That's an honor for sure. And again, just to close the program, I just want to remind everybody to do your own research, vet everything, Bring it inside of you, and then you'll know.
Oh, I'm going to answer Roxanne. So she wanted to know if I can put the documents up on Telegram. Absolutely. So the documents we share tonight, we'll share up on Telegram.
Absolutely, 100%. And then also, when do you want to start that Telegram? Let's announce it to everybody. Do you want
well, we can do it. Let's see. We can do it Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday. I always do a show every Sunday night anyways. I can do another one previous to that too, just especially for this. So, you know,
we can start it on Friday night, and at least one of us will be there.
Let's do that. So let's shoot.
What time?
7:11 is the time I always do it for. 7:11 my time, which would be 5:11 your time.
Can I get a Slurpee?
Sure. Yeah.
Do they still sell Slurpees at 7-Eleven?
I don't know. I haven't been to a 7-Eleven for a long time.
I know, right? All right. God bless you.
With my buddies all the time saying, "Oh, thank you for coming to 7-Eleven today. How may I assist you? Would you like a cherry Slurpee?"
Right.
I don't think I ever had one, actually.
Yeah. Well, I would like to ask, not to put anybody on the hot seat, but Jay, would you mind giving us a prayer and a blessing over us?
Oh, hey, Gewalt. Absolutely, be my honor.
Thank you.
Blessed Father, Heavenly Mother, the sacred spirit that resonates within and lives within all of us, I ask that you bless us all to resonate to and discover within us the highest truth, that where we all become whole and one is in that truth, that we all may be guided to seek not only that truth, but then realize and cognite on it, where we will open our eyes and our hearts and become whole again in the union of that which was, is, and always will be, in the truth of God, love, I am, for the sake of the greatest good and all concerned, that we remember, as they say in Hebrew, Hashem Echad, God, Spirit, love is one. May we all be blessed to return to the love of one within us and then see it manifest in our worlds now and for always. Thank you.
Thank you.
So be it.
So be it.
So be it.
Hey, in one of those shows, I'm going to bring up the research of what the word amen really means.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's a great idea.
That's why I always say, so be it.
Yep, that's right.
Well, and Jesus said, it is done. It's not dangling out there like hopium. Like ML, I borrow that now. I've heard you say hopium. It cracks me up. But yeah, there's no dangling carrot. It is done. Thy will be done. It is done.
It is done.
Hashtag God wins.
You know, it's so beautiful that it's like Christo says, the Republic's always here. The truth is, was, and always will be. And the truth is like water. It just surfaces and the veils are eliminated, like Christo was saying before. And the cool thing is, even in the law, they say the truth prevails. It takes superiority. So even with Lena, and she's holding King James Bible, even though the King James Bible is something that was written by King James for King James agenda, because it comes from the fabric of truth, you can find the truth in the principles of that Bible. And then Old Testament, everywhere that you look, the truth is there. So when you resonate with the truth, we become one and whole again. So it is our prayer, my prayer, all of us, that with Lena and all other truthers, that we do become whole and one and live in that truth of the love. That law is bringing forth the highest law of truth, because it's all coming from the fabric of truth. And that's why the truth will prevail, especially if your heart is seeking it, and it'll be so.
Absolutely. You know what I'd like to do? Because after our last show, and we talked about our divine genealogy, shall we say, I found this. Somebody sent this to me the other day, and I got homesick a little bit after watching this. It's a very short video, but I think you'll understand.
Homesick? What was it, from the Pleiades?
Oh, here you go. Right here, brother. I just want to, let's see here. Want to make sure I have the right one queued up here. Here we go.
Okay, I'm homesick.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
There's
told
no
you.
place like
I
home.
told you. Yep.
Yeah, it was
yep.
awesome. I was looking for Maladek, but then I remembered Maladek was no longer.
It's no longer
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
It's
You know
dust.
what we could do at the Iowa workshop is you just bring a bunch of videos and we'll just watch it. That's all we'll do. We'll just bring it'll become an ML workshop of videos. It's just so cool.
You put some good ones up. I'm just like, oh my gosh, where did he find this? It's so cool.
I just have stuff that pops up.
Yeah. Good job.
Well, thank you all. I love you so very much. I'm so
Love you.
grateful for all of you.
Love
Everybody
you.
have a blessed evening. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Until next time. And remember, so this Friday night at Sovereign Redneck Renegade on Telegram at 7:11 Central Time, one of these divine souls or all of them will be with us there, and we'll be taking in-depth questions as relates to our
That's right.
American national sovereignty, shall we say. So I love
Be
you guys.
there or be bare. I mean, square.
All right, y'all. Have a blessed evening.
That's
Take care.
Thank you.
Bye.